So I want to now transition to Jim Harbaugh because the 2021 college football season is upon us, and we are entering year number 7 of the Jim Harbaugh era at Michigan. And I will admit, Jim Harbaugh has won games at Michigan. In the 6 years he's been there, he's won 69% of his games. The 6 years prior to Jim Harbaugh getting to Michigan, Michigan only won 56% of their games. So there's been a jump in winning percentage since Jim Harbaugh's gotten there. And there's something to be said there because ever since Jim Harbaugh's gotten to Michigan, the Big Ten has gotten much, much better. Penn State's much better. Wisconsin's much better. Ohio State is legitimately an elite program. Like, the Big Ten is a real legitimate conference, okay? But here's the thing. When it comes to Jim Harbaugh and his time at Michigan, just winning games isn't enough. That's the reality. Because here's the thing. The problem is this. Jim Harbaugh was not just brought to Michigan to just win games 6 years in. Jim Harbaugh was brought in to beat Ohio State and turn Michigan back into a Tier 1 college football program once again. And right now, today, Wisconsin and Penn State, to me, are clearly better programs. Maybe not Penn State, but I think that legitimately Ohio State and Wisconsin are the 2 best Big Ten programs. Jim Harbaugh and Michigan are behind. And we are 6 years into the Jim Harbaugh era, entering a 7th season, and Jim Harbaugh has yet to beat Ohio State. And he's not winning many bowl games, and he's losing to the likes of Wisconsin and Penn State. Heck, Jim Harbaugh is only 500 versus little brother, Michigan State. They've had some bad losses to Michigan State over the past couple of years. Last year, the Michigan Wolverines had no business losing to Michigan State. Michigan State was bad last year. Had a new head coach. Not a good football team. And they went on the road into Michigan's own building and beat them. The point is, Jim Harbaugh's underachieved so far at Michigan. And I understand why Michigan fans are upset. Because there was real reason to believe that Jim Harbaugh was going to turn Michigan back into a legitimate national championship program year in and year out. And so far, Michigan's just an okay program. They're not bad. They're not average. They're okay. They're a little above average, but that's about it. And that's nothing to write home about if you're Jim Harbaugh. Because here's the thing. Jim Harbaugh at one point went to the NFL as a head coach and led the 49ers to a Super Bowl appearance. He didn't win a Super Bowl, but he at least got there. And I thought the 49ers were wrong to let him go. Okay? And they've moved on to Kyle Shanahan. But the point is, Harbaugh was very successful in San Francisco. He also had a lot of success at Stanford. Okay? And that's a school where you don't get a lot of the top flight recruits just because a lot of students can't even get into Stanford because of the academics. And while Michigan is an academically challenging school, it's not as hard as Stanford, okay? And we're 6 years in, people, and the big games have not been won consistently by Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines. And there's really no excuses because guys like Brian Kelly and Paul Chryst at both Notre Dame and Wisconsin have arguably had less top-level recruits than Jim Harbaugh, and they're getting more results. So I don't want to hear that, oh, Michigan's an academically challenging school. Oh, Michigan's in the Big Ten. When Paul Chryst and Brian Kelly, they're turning water into wine with 2- and 3-star recruits. So I don't want to hear that, okay? You're 6 years in, 7 years in. This has been more than enough time for Jim Harbaugh to establish a culture, to get his players in his program, to recruit at a high level. And he's failed to do so. I understand that Ohio State's on a whole nother level. But we expected more from Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines. And the pressure is now on Jim Harbaugh to beat Ohio State. And I don't believe he's going to do it. Because Ohio State has way better athletes, and they're a much better program today than Michigan right now. Okay, so the only way I really truly see Jim Harbaugh staying at Michigan over the next 2 seasons is if he eventually beats Ohio State. And I don't believe he's capable of doing it. I don't think that Michigan has the players. I think that Ryan Day flat out is a better college football coach than Jim Harbaugh. And Michigan at some point is going to have to make a choice because Michigan's good, but they're not great, okay? We got to give Harbaugh some credit. He's won games in Michigan. Michigan is a winning program, but they're not a top-notch program like we thought they would be. So Michigan is going to have to make a choice. Are we okay with being a program that wins about 8 to 9 games, maybe 10 games in a great year, pretty much for the next couple of years? Or do we want to upgrade, tear this thing down, and start over and go for national championships and go for the likes of Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama? They will have to make a choice because I think that ultimately you just can't choose one or the other, okay? Either you decide, okay, we're okay with what Harbaugh's bringing, or we're tearing this thing down. Personally, I would tear it down because there's no point in just being okay every single year. I think that you should try to compete for national titles, but that's how I feel. We'll see how Michigan feels going forward, but Harbaugh is 6 years in, hasn't beaten Ohio State, has lost some games that he should have won to Michigan State, isn't even better today right now than Wisconsin or Penn State, in my opinion, and that's how I feel. And I think a lot of Michigan fans are fed up with Jim Harbaugh as well. We'll see what happens, but the pressure is on Jim Harbaugh to beat Ohio State, or he's going to be out of there. Because if you're the head coach in Michigan, your job description should be beating Ohio State. Because even if Michigan loses every single game on their schedule, if they somehow find a way to beat Ohio State, some fans will deem that season a success. Because that rivalry means so much to so many fans, and I think that Michigan's football program owes it to their fans to have a guy that can beat Ohio State one day. So we'll see what Harbaugh does, but I'm not all that confident going forward. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juiciest Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juiciest Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God-blessed day, and I'm out.